However, we're just going to give you some information today. We are not going to make you give up your sweets. That is totally up to you. But hopefully today will be an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about that sweet stuff, the brown stuff, the golden stuff. There's so many variations of this stuff. And so we just want to learn how to, manage those sweet tooths today. All right. Well, this particular class, this workshop, if you will, is sweetly brought to you by the healing firm Sparrow Partners, Solea, Mara, and Sage. So today I am not on camera, so allow me to introduce myself. My name is Stephanie D. McKenzie. I am the lead coach at both the relationship firm and the healing firm, a group we affectionately call The Firms. As a health coach, I am pleased to serve my clients in a variety of ways. We offer both active and sedentary classes just like this. And I am certified in a multitude of areas, some of which include integrative nutrition, mindfulness, meditation, sleep science, flexibility. I'm also a Silver Sneakers instructor, TRX qualified, in addition to being certified in life, relationship, and bereavement coaching. So that's the breadth of my experience. Let me get my other things to catch up. All righty then. So I've introduced myself. You know who I am. Let's get into this, shall we? Today, I'm going to talk about three things, literally three things about sugar. Now, you may think you know a lot, and that's fine, but hopefully something that I say to you will be, a little bit of a light bulb moment. Well, those three things that we're going to talk about are simply, where is the sugar? What sugar does to us, and lastly, why we want it. And those are the three things that are pretty important. So let's get into this, shall we? All righty. Where is it? Where is the sugar? I hate to be the one to break it to you, and some of you already know this, but sugar is literally everywhere. And so for me, there are overt and covert ways that sugar shows up in our lives. But the one thing we have to recognize is that sugar is literally everywhere. At the conclusion of this workshop, you're going to be able to get the one sheet about sugar, and it will guide you through some of the processes that we discuss during this workshop today. But one of the things, especially as a health coach, I hear people say a lot is that they're like, I'm going to give up sugar. And, they really believe that they're going to give up desserts and sweet foods, and that's going to be the end of sugar. And those are what I call the overt locations of sugar. I mean, it's in a cake, it's in a pie, it's in a cookie, it's in ice cream, those are the overt things. We know sugar is there. It's not lurking around. It's not hiding. It's right there. We know it. We know what we're doing when you pick up a slice of blueberry cobbler or pumpkin pie. It's in there, okay? Now, the challenge when it comes to managing our sugar intake is the covert locations. These are the places where it is lurking, where it is hiding, and where it becomes so imperative that we almost retrain our taste buds if we truly want to give up sugar, and we'll get to the whys later on. But the covert places, and I'm just going to give you a few because I did this workshop before and I literally broke somebody's heart. Like they were not prepared for all the locations that I gave them. So I'll just give you a few. The first place you want to look is condiments, ketchup, mayonnaise, mustard, salad dressing. And over the years, I have learned to eat salad with dressing, because if you take the time to look at the dressing, there is so much sugar in there, so much sugar. And I think the part that really upset me was that why? But we'll talk about that in a minute. Why? But when you say things like you're going to give up sugar, it is imperative that you understand that that's not just about sweets, cakes, pies, milkshakes. It's not about those overt things. But when you really make a decision, and if you make that decision, bravo, But if you really just want to manage your sugar intake, it's going to require you to look beyond those overt places where it is, and we know it's there, and look at the covert piece, right? One of the places that sugar loves to hide is in quote unquote healthy snacks, especially those with the word, wait for it, organic. Organic snacks are the worst. And I'm going to tell you, as a health coach, if you ever go shopping with me, like some clients, I shop with them. I literally have to, oh, this is good. Okay, it's organic. And I literally have to pull it from the shelf and read it. And it doesn't take long because I know how to read labels. And so usually what organic foods will put in there is organic cane sugar. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Organic cane sugar is still sugar. I know there's this thing about raw sugar being better than white sugar because it's not processed. It's still sugar. Okay. And being mindful of that, especially if you're a diabetic, especially if you want to manage your sugar intake, don't get in the habit of thinking, oh, organic cane sugar is better for me. No, it's just less processed. Okay. And so the organics, the healthy snacks, don't be so quick to throw that into your basket, believing that, oh, it's great. It says healthy. It says organic. The other place, and I said I was only going to give you 3. I think I'm about to give you, no, that's 3. The healthy snacks, the organic, okay, kind of 4. Sugar-free drinks. Sugar-free drinks, especially diet soda. We're not even going to get into how bad diet soda is. In fact, diet soda is so bad for you, you might as well just drink the non-diet version. I'm just going to be honest with you. I have no reason to not be honest with you. Last time I put you to sleep, today I might be dismantling your entire diet, and I don't like that term, but your eating rituals during this quarantine. Sugar-free drinks always, if you like the taste of them, they always have something in them. And so the question becomes, what do you have in you? Because you can be sugar-free and maybe it uses sugar alcohols, or maybe it uses stevia and not Reb A, but actually stevia, some people say stevia extract, monk fruit. These are natural sweeteners. They occur in nature, and it doesn't raise your glycemic index, and that's what makes them very okay, especially if you're a diabetic. Now, let me caveat this and say I am not a doctor. If your doctor has said and set certain standards for your eating rituals in line with being pre-diabetic or having a diabetic condition, then disregard what I'm about to say, okay? This is for people who have not had a doctor tell them otherwise. But when you're looking at a sugar-free drink, one of the things that you'll find often is sucralose. And though we're not in that part of the program, let me tell you, anything that ends in OSE, O-S-E, usually is a sugar, usually. So if you see sucralose in a sugar-free drink, sucralose is Splenda. Now, for the longest time, we have been offered a bevy of sweeteners, right? We have Sweet and Low, Equal, Splenda. Here's the problem with Splenda long-term. Studies have shown that it damages your liver and perhaps even your kidneys. And so we never want to damage the liver and the kidneys in any way, because they are the ones that work. These are the body parts. These are the systems that work hardest to detox us. And so when we can't detox, and that's a natural, right? That's a natural body system. When we cannot detox, those toxins dwell in our body. What do toxins cause? Disease. So we want to be able to eliminate toxins out of our body relatively efficiently. And so long-term studies have shown that Splenda just won't allow you to do that. It will damage your liver. It will damage your kidneys. And not that everyone is the same, but why risk it? So being mindful of even the sugar-free drinks and what sugar is in them, sugar-free snacks and what sugar is in them, because literally, if you like the way it tastes, if it tastes good to you, it's got sugar in it, period. Some semblance of sweetener. And so being diligent enough to ask, if you're at a sugar-free bakery, what is this sweetened with? On the converse, a lot of people have gone to using sugar alcohols, which can be fine, although they can cause a little bit of gastrointestinal distress depending on what it is. I never say it right. Erythritol, I think that's right, erythritol. Maltitol, there's a few of them that cause intestinal distress, and I'm telling you that from a personal standpoint. I had that experience and I was like, oh, that's not fun. So again, we have to be mindful about what we're taking in when something says sugar-free and not start turning backflips and cartwheels before we've done our research. All right, so now let's look at, what does sugar do to us? Well, I'll be honest with you, it does good things and not so good things. It just depends on the sugar. And as I've said to you, anything that ends in "-ose", just about, you can pretty much know that that's a sugar. So that brings us to the good things, right? Because we have fructose. That's naturally occurring sugar in, you guessed it, fruit. And so when we're ingesting fruit, now some fruits, listen, I'm just going to be honest with you, there's a lot of sugar. Grapes, bananas, very much full of sugar. But everyone has a different tolerance as it relates to sugar, okay? So this is naturally occurring sugar. Some people can eat bananas and be fine. Some people can eat oranges and be fine. Some people, myself, I have to live a life of berries. They're lower in sugar. And so really it becomes, you have to be mindful about your body. This is another one of those things, just like when we did the sleep workshop. This is another one of those things where your body and someone else's body may respond differently. The challenge that I issue to you is to get in tune with your body. Take notes about what your body does and doesn't do when you ingest certain foods so that you might be able to figure out a pattern. So the good things, definitely we get natural energy when we take in fructose. And let's just be honest, we enjoy eating sweet things. And we are allowed to enjoy life. We're allowed to enjoy life. And so that brings us a certain level of enjoyment. I still remember being much younger than I am now and sitting outside eating watermelon with family members. That was the thing where, cut it up and everyone gets a slice and everybody's outside and it's hot and we're in East Texas and we're eating watermelon. And not only is watermelon a great source of hydration, but it's sweet and it's yum, but there are memories that are attached to that. There's enjoyment that's attached to that. You like the taste. You like the people you were around. There's memories here. And so again, sugar is not all bad. There are some good things that sugar gives us, but then there are also some not so good things. And these are the things that we hear about often. Weight gain, inflammation, decreased levels of immunity, and lastly, sugar addiction. Now, why do these things matter? Well, of course, weight gain matters because we don't want to be overweight. We know that that is not good for us. Now, I will say this. If you're basing your weight on your BMI, the health coach in me wants you to know that BMI is not the most accurate measure. I know every doctor says it, et cetera, et cetera. What BMI doesn't take into account is your bone density. And so at the end of the day, there are more accurate ways to look at your BMI, and also looking at your waist circumference. There are other ways to look at how weight is affecting your life, okay? Everybody's not gonna be a size 6 or a size 16. But the question becomes, are you healthy? And so managing your health, managing your weight definitely depends on a few things: how you're sleeping and literally how you're sugaring. So definitely managing your weight gain. Inflammation is huge. And I will tell you, a huge part of my narrative as a health coach was built around decreasing the cellular inflammation in my body. So that, focusing in on that, understanding what that meant, allowed me to lose 53 pounds last year, and I have kept it off. And so understanding how sugar plays into that was very, 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 very key, because I wasn't eating a sugary diet, but I was also eating things that were not good for me because of the sugar content. So naturally occurring sugars, carbs, those things just aren't good for me. And so once I began to rein that in, again, something can be a good food, but it's just not good for you. Like I said, I don't really take in bananas and oranges and high sugar fruits. I live on berry lane, literally all kinds of berries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, because they have a lower carb content, they have lower sugar content. So that being said, if you figure out that you're inflamed, then my question would be, how much sugar are you really eating? Are you having a salad every day with ranch dressing? Okay, well, we just discussed one of the covert ways that sugar hides is in condiments. So those are the things that we need to look at. And you're like, well, Stephanie, how do I know if I'm inflamed? Usually you'll be overweight, or you just won't feel good, or you'll have decreased energy, or you'll have a pooch, which the pooch, especially on women, can definitely be hormonal imbalances, but your body will not be functioning at its optimal level. It just won't. And I realize that people tell us things like, oh, when you get older, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, listen, the narrative on aging in America is practically inaccurate. We don't have to be sick. We don't have to be overweight. We don't have to get weaker. We can get stronger. What determines those things is how we care for ourselves on a daily basis, meal to meal to meal. All right. So that's the challenge. You know, how are you caring for yourself? Because deciding to eat things that are healthful and that make you feel good, not just from the pleasure centers in your brain, which we'll talk about in a minute, but make you feel good, energize you, make you want to go for a walk and cause you not to feel sluggish and like, oh my goodness, I just don't want to do this anymore. That's self-care. That's self-love. All right. So we talk about weight gain, inflammation, decreased levels of immunity. Okay. When we're eating processed sugar, and again, a lot of this does not go with naturally occurring sugars, but you'll have to manage your body to figure that out. But let's talk about processed sugar and decreased levels of immunity. Did you know that ingesting sugar can drop your immunity for an hour? That means you become more susceptible to whatever bacteria, virus, bug, be it known or not, in the air for 1 hour. For 1 hour. That's something to think about, especially now in these times where our immunity is so key. Our immunity is key to getting through any type of viral issue, but especially now. So we want to be mindful of what we're eating. I see a lot of people that are stress eating, a lot of people who are emotionally baking, see a lot of people doing that. And so the challenge is, can you find a different way? Can you find another outlet, please? Can you go for a walk? Can you eat berries? Can you not cook, a cheesecake? If you do, eat just a little bit or do it sugar-free. Again, stevia, monk fruit, great sweeteners to bake with. But nevertheless, let's be mindful that sugar decreases our immunity. Okay? Absolutely decreases our immunity. And then there's the sugar addiction. And we have to be very clear about the fact that some people are addicted to sugar. And the reason why they're addicted to sugar takes us right to this next slide. Why we want it. Why do we want this stuff? Why do we want this sweet, sweet, yummy stuff? I'll tell you why. Because sugar is more addictive than heroin. I didn't make it up. It's a statistic. I forgot the source. Please forgive me. But sugar is more addictive than heroin. And let me tell you why. Sugar stimulates the release of chemicals in our brain. These chemicals are serotonin and dopamine. They may sound kind of familiar to you because these are where we define reward and pleasure in our brains. Dopamine sounds like dope. So what does that tell us? Sugar, processed sugar, has the same effect as a chemical dependency. Pick a chemical, heroin, cocaine, whatever. And so because when we eat it, it aligns with our reward and our pleasure centers in our brain. That says to us, sugar is good. So not only does it taste good, it feels good. We feel rewarded. We feel pleasure. We feel good. Same thing with chocolate. Chocolate stimulates something called the PEA transmitter in the brain. That's why it's aligned with love and romance, because that is that transmitter. So again, here we are with the mind-body connection, because we're ingesting something into our body that is affecting our mind, right? So, like I said, three reasons why we want it: chemicals, customs, and cravings. So I just told you about the chemicals. Let's talk about the customs. And my thing about customs is, many times, and I've said this throughout this workshop, is that sometimes sugar is just how we cope. We've got people who are emotional eaters and stress eaters, but it's not even about just those things. I had a girlfriend a long time ago, and whenever she was sad as a child, her grandmother would bake her something, usually a pie that she would give her, and she would eat it all. As she got older and she became sad, she would reward herself with baked goods. And so that's how we're socialized, right? That's how she was socialized. And many of us are socialized the same way. Oh, you don't feel good? Have a cookie. No different than when people say, oh, you're sick, drink 7-Up. There is nothing, or ginger ale. There is nothing inherently nutritional about 7-Up or ginger ale. In fact, there's so much sugar in either one of them that they create an inflammatory response, which is actually very much juxtaposition to the healing that we're seeking from said cold or head cold or sinus infection, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what is good about that sometimes is having the soup, because that will give you the bone broth, which is anti-inflammatory, but that's a different class. All right, so it can be ways that we cope, but then it can also be ways that we socialize. We socialize around food, and we know that because now that the restaurants are closed, at least to inside dining, we see greatly what the role that food plays in our life, and especially things that have sugar in them. Many things have sugar in them. We've already gone over that. So it doesn't have to be a cake or a pie to have sugar in it. Margaritas have sugar in them. Any mixed drinks, any cocktails have sugar in them. What else? Beyond the desserts, your dressings have sugar in them. Remember, we talked about condiments. So your seasonings have sugar in them. So again, this is not about just ripping the sugar from your life. I'm not just going to pull off your sugar Band-Aid, right? I'm going to give you information to help you manage your intake. One of the things early on that I began to do when I began to manage my sugar intake was order my food without seasoning. That way it could come to the table completely naked, salt and pepper, there you go. Because many times there's sugar in seasonings. In fact, I grew up in East Texas, so many times recipes for savory foods would call for the addition of brown sugar, because it would bring out certain tastes, certain flavors, certain flavor profiles in food. I know people that barbecue and they have sugar in their rubs. Some of you know people just like that. Some of you are those people, and that's okay. Again, this is just information to empower you. I'm not here to shame you, blame you, or guilt you. I'm not here to do that, okay? So we've got the chemicals, we've got the customs, and we've got the cravings. Sometimes we just have a craving for something. And literally, I could do a whole class on cravings. But sometimes we just crave it. We just really want some ice cream. We just really want some chocolate. We just really want a Coke. And I have friends, and I don't really drink soda, but I have friends that will crave a Coke, and it has to be super cold, and they want to drink it. They want that. Same thing with root beer. Some people crave root beer floats. And so cravings also have a physiological connection. They can have a mental or a physiological connection. Why do we want a thing? And so ultimately, we've looked at a few things today, right? We've looked at sugar. where the sugar is, what the sugar does to us, why we want the sugar. And so in all of those things, what I'm encouraging you to do is consider, just consider. Again, I'm not going to rip off your sugar Band-Aid, but consider what you're ingesting that is not necessarily a dessert. What savory foods are you ingesting? And I forgot about this one, tomato sauce. So if you love spaghetti, again, and you eat spaghetti a lot, anything you eat a lot that's savory, could you consider that perhaps there may be some sugar content in that? Sauces especially, those can definitely show up there. All right, so because I'm a coach, of course, we got to do some work. So how do we get to the real sweet spot? I told you I was going to have all the sugar puns today. Well, 4 things: read, heed, assess, and address. I'll say it for you again. Read, heed, assess, and address. Well, what does that mean, Stephanie? Well, I'm so glad that you would ask me that. So when I talk about reading, I mean read labels. That's the greatest power that you have when choosing what you're going to eat, is reading the labels and learning how to do that. Now, in my handout that you'll get post this workshop, I will show you 56 names of sugar. There's more than that. 56 though. 56 names of sugar. Everything from organic cane sugar, because things very rarely just say sugar. They have all of these different names. High fructose corn syrup. I think, what was the name I saw recently? Oh, it's escaping me. But there are so many names. And so if you learn how to read labels, then you can make a conscious decision. Do I want to eat this or not? Now, some things are just blatant. If it's a bag of cookies, well then, here's the thing. You read Oreo, you walk the other direction, unless you really want to eat Oreos. If you don't really want to eat Oreos, and you're picking up, savory foods, if you're picking up condiments, and I will tell you, it is very difficult and can be expensive to find condiments without sugar, but it can be done. It will taste a little bit differently, as my ketchup without sugar does, but it can be done. But again, I'm not here to rip off your sugar Band-Aid. But if you want to make small steps, try reading labels. If there's something that you really love to eat and you've never read the label, I want to encourage you as an action step, read the label once you get the handout and see if any of those 56 names of sugar are listed. Next thing, heed. Heed your body's responses to sweet foods, be them savory or desserts. Okay? Does your energy level drop? Does your skin break out? Do you feel jittery? Do you need to take a nap? There are so many ways that our body will tell us, hey, I don't like this. I don't like this. And we as humans have a tendency to say, well, sometimes when I eat this, I get sleepy. Or sometimes when I eat this, I don't know, I just feel off. Sometimes when I eat this, I get a headache. I'll be the first person to tell you that if I eat processed sugar, if it's not just the smallest serving, I will get nauseous and dizzy. It'll take about 30 seconds. Well, if you know that, Stephanie, why do you keep eating processed sugar? Well, it's very rare. It's very rare, and I know what's going to happen. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to rip off your sugar Band-Aid. Listen, a funnel cake came to the table the last time I was out with some friends. I wanted to taste it. I took a taste, and that's all I could take because I knew what was going to happen. There's been a few times when we've been out and I ordered something and it didn't list what was in it, and I just assumed that there wasn't any sugar in there. Oh, let's be honest. I ordered a drink and I thought the drink was just natural juices and whatever the alcohol was. And yeah, it wasn't. And it took about 30 seconds and I got nauseous and I got a headache. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't want to be caught off guard like that. And so again, if you're eating something, and again, if your skin breaks out, if you feel flushed, if you feel tired, you feel sluggish, if you get brain fog, all of these things are your body saying, hi, I'm your body and I don't like this. And I've told you before, a lot of the things that we're talking about is really about self-care and self-love. I don't want to feel like that. And so I need to honor the fact that my body does not like it, because I want my body to function at its optimal levels. I want my body to feel like going for a walk after dinner. I want my body to not make me go to sleep when there are things that I want to do, I need to do. And so again, heed your body's responses to when you're eating sweet foods, whether they're savory or whether they're just outright desserts. Heed those responses. If you need to take a little, a little food journal, write it down in your phone, whatever you need to do, do it. All right. Next thing. So we're reading, we're heeding, and we're assessing. What are we assessing, Stephanie? We're assessing your cravings. There are whole pages on the internet dedicated to helping you navigate your cravings. If you crave chocolate, it means this. If you crave this, it means this. If you crave this, it means this. Be mindful that there may be a deficiency in your body that may be the reason why you're craving what you're craving. And that's not in the handout. Let's pull up one really quickly. I want you to see this. All right, so if you're craving chocolate, this chart says you might need magnesium. What you can eat instead: nuts, seeds, veggies, and fruits. Okay, so magnesium is something that we need to function. It's a mineral. We need that. So your chocolate crave, so your cravings, again, I told you they could have mental roots or they could have physiological ones. This particular chart talks about sugary foods can cause you to need anything from chromium to tryptophan to carbon to phosphorus. And so again, assess why you want what you want. Are you sad? And now, so look at the emotional side. Are you sad? Are you mad? Are you stressed? Now, if you say, yes, I am, that is not carte blanche to go ahead and eat it. What that is an opportunity for you to make a better decision. Because after you eat that thing, how are you going to feel? You're probably not going to feel amazing. You're just not. Same thing with bread and pasta, because sugar is not always about sweetness. It's about how the chemicals that we ingest are transferred into our body. So, we could go through that whole process. Again, that's a different workshop if we're talking about bodily functions. But just consider the fact that sugar, carbs, they're all the same. And so if we're having cravings for sugary things, carby things, then we need to assess that. Stop for a minute before you reach for the ice cream or whatever you have. Well, you don't have ice cream because you didn't bring it home because you listened to this workshop and you decided against it. But be mindful that your craving may be telling you something that you haven't considered. Okay? Lastly, address your sweet tooth. Many times people say, oh, I have a sweet tooth. Oh, I have a sweet tooth. Oh, I have a sweet tooth. Why? And this just isn't about cravings. This is about looking at how you've been socialized to see, sweet things, how you've been socialized towards sugar. Have you been rewarded with sugar? Are you addicted to sugar? Have you eaten so much sugar in your life that, you're just addicted to it? Do you get cranky when you don't have your sugar? We've already talked about that sugar stimulates chemicals in our brain that tell us that this is good and that not only does it taste good, but that this is good for us. There's intention in that. The more sugar we ingest, the more inflamed we become. The more inflamed we become, the more we begin to skew towards dis-ease. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want to be sick. We want to be vibrant. We want to be energized. We want to be able to do what we want to do, once the world opens back up. We want to be able to do that. Okay? And so this is a time where we can just begin to manage, You don't have to go out and throw all the sugar out. You don't have to do that. Now, I will say this as an aside. If you are in chronic pain in any way, that is inflammation, and sugar will make it worse. So if you don't feel good, let's say your leg is hurting, your back is hurting, or something is hurting you, and you eat sugar, more than likely the pain increases because you've just increased the inflammatory levels in your body. So again, be mindful. Be mindful. That's all I can tell you. Be mindful. So, in conclusion, I am so happy to have been with you all today once again. And my name is Stephanie D. McKenzie. I'm the lead coach at The Firms, which today is the Healing Firm. And I am so pleased to have been able to partner with Sparrow Partners and their properties, Solea, Mira, and Sage. As I always tell you, I thank you for loving and learning with me. And I want to challenge you, get to the real sweet spot. Have a good one.